what are business coaches actually selling? Because there was like a bit of context. I was like, it feels like, and I'm probably going to get cancelled for this. It feels like a somewhat pyramid scheme in terms of like, I'm selling, and this isn't all business coaches, but it's like, I'm going to teach you how to make a successful business, but the only business that I have is telling people how to create a successful business.
Yeah.
And then it's like they sell that to other coaches.
Yeah,
who then sell it to other coaches.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, what's the product?
The best part was like, who's the client?
Yeah, I was like, where's the
It's a really fair question.
who are we selling to?
Yeah. And that's been the big red flag for us is looking not when we look at people who we would want to be mentored by, because there's obviously levels now. We wouldn't want someone who only does the telling people what to do as their main service, unless they had a business and sold it for a lot of money.
Yes.
So if you're such a good business coach, why wouldn't you have a business already that's doing the things that you said you tell other people to do? And that's
you've been able to put under management because you're actually good at all the stuff you say you're good at, like systems and
you scaled it enough to step away and other people are operating it for you. Amazing.
You have something that is sellable. Your business is in a position that it's sellable, whether you sell it or not.
Yeah, and that's been, like, if you look at the timeline of some quote-unquote business coaches, it's like personal training got too hard and they didn't know what to do next. So then telling other people how they got busy is the next step.
Yeah.
And then they ditch the personal training part and then just do that. And then it's like, well...
And the price point's higher,
well,
too.
I was going to say, I also think that the thing is, it's like, okay, say if they were in it can be any industry, but if they were in like the fitness industry and they were making X amount, and then they started to go into business coaching, and then they're like, oh, I started making all this money. It's because, well, now you're not coaching Gen Pop anymore. You're coaching other coaches, and now you're selling coaching for $3,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based off no one valuing at $3,000. I think we're kind of getting into this mindset of like, just because someone paid it means that is what it's worth.
Yeah.
And I mean, the client at the end of the day will be able to tell that person like what it's worth, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that people get in this like personal development, professional development, like addiction, where it's like, oh, I'm investing all of this money in coaching. It's like, well, show me what happened as a result of that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the language. Yeah, that's the trap of it, because people advertise it as investing in themselves.
I don't know why.
Yeah, and a lot of people are buying the persona and the image of other people, thinking that they're going to get that.
Yeah.
So like they like the energy and the vibe that this said person has.
Yeah.
So they think purchasing whatever product it is going to get them that, and that's not necessarily what they're going to get.
Yeah.
They're just going to get that person's company for a period of time that they've paid for.
I think that like this isn't even like an attack. The reason I think this is an important point of discussion is because like trainers see these numbers on Instagram of like, you know, I had a 30K day and blah, blah, blah.
Which is
like,
multiplied by the minimum term and the lifetime value of the client. So it's not a 30K day, but yeah.
And I think it's a very slippery slope into like self-comparison, right? It was like, oh, well, I'm seeing all of these business coaches and they're teaching other coaches how to be business coaches. And it's just like, are we even helping anyone anymore to start off with?
Yeah.
But second, it's like, I think we just need to look at it through an accurate lens as well. So it's not to try and tear those people down. If you are doing what you say you are doing, then my comments will mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of PTs will probably look at all of these people and be like, I'm not doing well enough, or maybe I should pay them and they'll be able to teach me how to run my business. And it's like, well, they might be able to teach you how to be a business coach, but I don't know if they'll be able to teach you how to like run a business.
But like, and we spoke about like what Jay said in terms of how they come up with that figure. And you're like, oh, I didn't even like know that's how they do it.
Correct.
We spoke about a trainer in particular that like that was local, that advertised was their business coach was marketing them as a success story, and then he was obviously like, yeah, it was super successful, and like did $35,000 worth of personal training sales this week.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later started at Good Life.
Yeah.
And it's like,
if
you had 35 grand on tap, training out of your garage at home and your home setup,
you wouldn't start paying rent elsewhere.
You're not going to pay Good Life $15,000 a year to get access to their leads, you'd be opening your own facility.
Yeah.
So the way they calculate that number is like Jay said, it's like work out. I don't even think it's average client lifetime value. I think it's
minimum
projected what I hope they stay for.
Oh yeah, that's even.
Well, because you can never
Most of the
guarantee it
time.
anyway.
We-
Yeah.
Like,
you if you're gonna, the smartest way to do that would just be to multiply the minimum term, because you can at least
That's
say that you guaranteed that.
Yeah,
the
but
yeah.
I don't think people do that because the numbers are pretty.
They're
extreme.
huge.
Looking
like,
at like you're recording this video telling me in your mum's bedroom, like, how did you make $50,000 today?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't
it
quite
doesn't add up.
add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Maybe I'm not saying they're lying, but just from an external
yeah.
view, I'm like, yeah. But essentially, what they do is they arbitrarily decide what a client's worth. Whether that's actually based on data or not sure. And then they just project that out. So it's like if you're a personal trainer and you work in a gym and you have a really good week and you put on 5 clients,
Yeah.
average client does 1.5 sessions a week, and your average price point's like
Yeah.
$90 a session. So what's that? $145
Yeah.
times 5 is
Yeah.
help
That's
$600 a week.
Help.
Yeah, I think it's
Just a
just
bit more.
under 700.
Yeah, so you can say I had a
750,
$7,000
Yeah.
like $8,000 week off the
Yeah.
back of that, which is
Yeah.
amazing. The likelihood of that person staying outside of their 12 weeks is actually probably pretty high for most people. Like average retention 6. If you're experienced and you're good, it's probably 12 months. So then you can be like, oh, but most of my clients stay for 12 months.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden it's like, well, that 50 is times 52 weeks. So it's like, oh, now I had a $25,000 week. That sounds really sexy, and I can put that on the internet. Then you take your price point from, on average, $140 to whatever the coaching package is, which is $10,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
I made 3 sales today
Yeah,
that
so
I've been
still
working on for a
45K in a
month.
week.
So now I've done
Yeah.
this exponential sale, but I still have to go provide the service, and I can't do that tomorrow
Yeah.
because I'm still capped.
Yeah.
It's also important to consider, we mentioned earlier in terms of business, like to sell a business, you're only worth what your consistent debits are
Yeah.
and for how long that is. So someone walks in like an actual business person walks into a gym, they eradicate your paid in fulls.
Yeah. And all of the equipment that's over 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's worth
Worth
nothing.
nothing. All we're interested in is how many people do you have paying every single week?
Yeah.
And how long are they
Yeah.
contracted for?
And what's the trend been over the last 3 years?
And that's what your business is worth.
Yeah.
So putting this arbitrary, I made this,
It's not
cool,
what
but it's
you're
not worth anything.
Yeah.
No one else
Yeah.
believes your business is like the $1 million business coach thing. It's gone from 6 figures to $1 million lately. Apparently.
Fucking every second person's making 7 figures. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lie.
It's apparently a
it's a
thing now.
lie.
That's
So-
absolute lie.
Yeah, that threw me off. So now it's like, well, no. You just selling $1 million worth of shit, let's say that you actually did, doesn't make your business worth $1 million.
Yeah.
Having $1 million in predictable, repeatable revenue, now it might be worth $1 million.
Yeah. I also think with the putting a number on a day, right? As a consumer, it feels like, oh, I got paid $30,000 for 8 hours of work. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Nah.
no.
Yeah.
Like if you have say been working on a course or something for 3 months and then you sell 3 spots into it and you made $30,000 or whatever,
Yeah.
however much, $3,000, call it $1,000 course. You've made $3,000 over 3 months.
Yeah.
Like that's not a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people don't see the like, oh, I worked on it for all of this time. Like if I've developed a course or whatever and I sell it, I'm like, well, I'm probably running at a loss to be fair because I put 3 months of work into this kind
Yeah.
of thing. But so like when people are seeing that, it's like this is not time for money anymore that we're talking about.
So what also happens is, and where there's probably a big disconnect is like, if you've never invested in marketing, so 99% of personal trainers, maybe they've hit the boost button and like thrown $5 at shit, like, but they haven't really gone out and done a deliberate paid ad strategy. When you do that, you start to look on actual client lifetime value because it's a really important metric. So we've got a campaign starting on Fit for the first time. We've never really spent on that side of the business. And it's like we sat here last week and went, right, this is when we get this many trials, we get this many conversions. When we get the conversions, they stay for this long. And when we pay all our Apple fees and we pay this, this is how much is left over. So if we spend this, this is what we need to get on the back end.
Yeah.
And we need to know if we're going to do it, that's going to come back to us.
Yeah.
And then it's like, if it's a multiple of 2, 3, 4, 5, next time, that's when we go, all right, turn that dial up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually did it last quarter. The end of this quarter, I did a review, and we'd stopped some spend on this side of the business and just watched the metrics just tail down consistently on the other side of it. And we're like, fuck. We were spending $1,000 a month,
Yeah.
and it was on the back end costing us $6,000 a month by not having it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, go back and
Turn
spend
it
the
on. Turn
fucking
it back on.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks expensive to spend the $1,000, but if the revenue's up 6x, it's an absolute no-brainer to do that.
Yeah.
So then I know we're not, for myself, we stand out. If I have, say, for example, put through 10 sales worth, it's like, okay, that equals this amount of money. I think the price is on the website now. So it's like, that's 50K in sales. Because I'm thinking we spent our trip to Queensland, the expo fee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the marketing,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I'm looking and going, cool, so we made this on the back end and this is what we spent to accrue that. That is either in a positive or it's in a negative.
Yep.
So when you're a business coach and you're starting to learn all these things and do all that sort of stuff, you do, like, to play devil's advocate, you do have the thought of that equals this much revenue.
Absolutely.
But we still have to run, like you said, all the courses and all of that. For us, to it being in a group situation, it's kind of a bit different because it feels like you're just showing up anyway.
Yeah.
And like the course has been
Yeah.
done, still modified. So we're just like, oh, I've got to be there on Tuesday.
But that's
It
also
either-
taken into consideration in the course design, right? You're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is going to cost X amount, and it's not going to cost us any more to have more people on. Like, that's a choice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, like, those things all play in, and I don't think, like, I think it's just really disingenuous to lie about it. And then I also think the reason we don't post about it and be like, I've actually got a campaign that I'm going to do on, like, deliberately satire on the other side and be like, this is the campaign we ran to make $50,000, and actually explain the concept that I'm going to now, which is our price point is 5x what most personal trainers' minimum term is. So divide your business coach's win by 5, because
Yeah.
that's your minimum term value per sale. So that already, like you said, that comparison is like, oh fuck, okay.
Yeah.
The
They made-
minimum term is also
Yeah.
If
X
they
amount
made
of
30
duration.
grand, I only have to make whatever, like $600 or 6,000. So that's one. Then it's like, well, how did you accrue that? And it's like you said, maybe 3 months went into a marketing campaign that took time, that took creation, that then took spend. I think the best one I've seen is like $1 million of potential revenue generated.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Put that
living
on
on
your
hopes and dreams.
Yeah, it was
so
just
then-
like every opt-in on a Facebook ad, calculate how much their lifetime value could be if they bought your premium product
Well, let's
and
just-
paid in full.
let's just multiply every time someone visits the website by our premium price point then.
Every
Sure,
time
that's
every
The
time
potential.
I
podcast listeners, like, just, where do you fucking stop? Like,
every time I get a story view, multiply that by
Yeah,
the
it could
fact
be a
that
client.
yeah. At the end of the day, the only things that matters, we have what we call a God document. It has every outgoing, every income stream on it, and there's a little
Every-
box up in the corner that says revenue, profit,
Yeah.
profit for distribution.
Yeah.
Those numbers are the only ones that matter.
Yeah.
Like what you did on a day is fucking irrelevant.
Yeah, the money's got to
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of personal trainers actually doing far better than the business coaches that are promoting that and thinking like, fuck, I'm failing. It's like, bro, you're making $3,000 a week.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, what was the stat I sent you? The average
The average,
Average-
person that makes over 100, around 100K, I think it was, or
55 hours a
55
week.
hours a week.
Yeah.
So if you're a
55
personal
hours for
trainer
100K.
doing 30 hours,
Yeah, it's 100K is easy.
taking
as PT.
150, like, fuck, man. You're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Jay said, in terms of what I would advise other people to do, and for myself, like I've had my eyes open for a mentor for about 6 months, maybe longer, but it's like I cannot find someone that ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
It's like either have sold up or still continue to run a business. For me, it's like married, successful marriage and family.
It's going to be a real tough
So
pool now.
there's everyone in fitness
And-
gone. And still running some kind of business that's not just coaching.
yeah.
And their business is over 7 figures.
Yeah.
And it's like, I cannot find that anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's the whole idea of like what Jay said. Often people are buying the persona, the lifestyle.
The energy of that
charisma.
person. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, usually they're good
It's,
looking.
it's
and-
appeal, you
Yeah.
know, and that's why they
Yeah.
lean into it. It's probably why we fail miserably at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we
sell a product.
Yeah, I don't wear a fucking suit that's hired and stand in front of a car that I don't own.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
Market
thing,
the
right?
shit that I can't afford just to sound successful, you know?
Yeah. So it's making sure that the person that you're paying has done the thing you want to do.
Correct.
Yeah. They have to have what you want.
What you want.
Yeah.
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 And a lot of that is like, for me anyway, is like values driven as well. It's like I don't want someone who's constantly showing me how. I want people to still be able to be like, I did this thing or I bought this thing and it's making me really like happy or whatever, or I worked really hard, blah blah blah. But I think that can't be like your entire story.
Yeah.
Like there has to be a bit more like depth or like integrity or that kind of thing. And so it's like if all like the bells and whistles and stuff is what draws you in to want to work with someone, probably need to ask yourself like why that is. Like why is that the thing that you want?
It's like, do you want to look successful or be successful?
Yeah. And I think these conversations is not to kind of like call anyone out or do anything. I think it's just to provide like context for like the social media consumers, especially like trainers and stuff as well.
Yeah.
To be like, as you said, like you don't know that car's theirs. And it's not to get super cynical either, to be like everyone's a liar, because like maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the most important point is that you'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still, I think, no matter what, every person who's mentoring someone should have what the person wants.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if they want a business, that person's business, they should have a business too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if they were good at it, like that's the only thing I would say for anyone looking for some help. It's like, if you were good at whatever you said you were, what you're telling other people to do, then you would have that.
Yeah.
So you got to have a business. You
Yeah.
it can't be coaching business,
Correct.
like telling mentoring. It's like that doesn't count.
That's not a.
It's not a
product.
scalable. That's It's like, you just woke up one day and went, I'm just going to tell people what to do because I didn't want to do it myself. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
That's the thing from like
Or I wasn't willing to do it for the return that is online
Yeah,
coaching.
so now I'm gonna
at
tell
$80
other
a
people-
week, so I'm
Correct.
going to do it at $200 a week
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
business coach.
So I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. If people are, if you're trying to eliminate like who's a person that maybe I should look towards and maybe not, that's the biggest one in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think from like the personal trainer point of view as well, I see a lot with like the business or the money mindset or that kind of thing. It's like coaching someone in this realm is not just telling them to put their prices up. Because I think sometimes people
We get that all the time.
people
Every
get
time
stuck.
we present somewhere,
Yeah.
they're like, it's so refreshing to not just have a business coach come in and say, all of you put your prices up by $20. So it's not fucking based on what? That's not business coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially trainers like first starting out, right? It's like, no, you have to know that your value. If you are brand
Yeah.
new to the industry, you can't be charging a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Because
to be
you're not-
confident in whatever you charge too, and that
Yeah.
you've got to build that value and
Yeah.
that confidence together to go, yep, cool, it's this much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people get stuck where they've been in the industry a little bit and then they don't want to, increase their prices, and that's a different story.
Yeah. It's hard because that's, I think, for a business coach, that's where it gets stuck because
Yeah.
you can say, like, I improved this person's income
Yeah.
by 2x
Yeah.
or by 50% in a week.
Yeah.
It's like because you just put
You
their
just put their
prices
prices
up
up,
because
yeah.
they were in the game for
needed
2
permission.
years. They hadn't put it up. And they just needed someone exactly to give them permission
Yeah.
and hold their hand and be like, "It's okay. No one's going to leave.
Yeah.
Put your
Yeah.
price up by $10 because you're way too cheap."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Wow, that's all I have to do. I just made this person $20 across 40 clients. It's a substantial amount of
And,
increase."
and that's because this is a manifestation of like the gap that like people are aware of now. Like we obviously identified that gap ages ago because we were personal trainers. So we're like, I knew nothing about business. Zero.
Yeah.
So it was money in a shoebox. Fucking I was lucky someone told me to do direct debit.
Yeah.
So it was just no business awareness. And then Ben had a little bit more than me. And then
but
we kind of
still not much.
but there was enough for us to become aware, and we had some pretty good mentors along the way, like who were our PT managers at the time that kind of helped us.
Yeah.
So then we were like, cool, well, we need to set this up and fill this gap.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is, it's not hard to learn surface level business,
Yeah.
where it's like the generic, put your prices up, make sure you're on direct debit so there's repeated payments.
Post about your target market.
Yeah, to identify like
Engage with people online.
that stuff is surface level shit. So it is easy for someone to come in and tell people how to do that. I would argue that has an expiry date, and then after that, like they can't take that person to the next level.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of people getting around just like, like when you write your content, do you think about a specific person? Like basic level finances and reading profit loss sheets and blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff's not hard. And that's why there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But most of those people, so then add the filter. So it's like, how do I filter out the good and the bad? The best ones, I would argue, have either sold a business or still have an external business to whatever that is that they're teaching.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to filter that shit.
Yeah. That's further along than yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you just do the surface level stuff and then just move to someone else that,
Yeah.
takes you to another level.
Yeah. Do you think that like this
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Hopefully Tam
Put that in.
Yeah.
We just have wide shots now. It's permanent.
Just sneezes over.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.